Hey, great day, everyone. Welcome to the online therapist expansion topic of online workshops today. Go figure, I'm doing an online workshop. We're talking about online workshops today. So, this is going to be very intriguing and very fun. And so, as you join us, if you could so kindly go over to the comment box. I have something scrolling that will pretty much stay on for the remainder of our workshop because people chime in at different times. And I want you to identify, if you know what it is, what is the one stream of income that you are focused on for the next 90 days? So, for example, if you already have a private practice, and let's just say, even though you know you're interested in other streams, but in order for those streams to pop off the way that you want your private practice to get in order, then say private practice, actually, not the stream of income. If your private practice, if you have one, is your systems and everything are in place, meaning you can remove yourself from your private practice, go on a vacation, and it still does some things when you're not there. That's what I'm talking about when I say private practice systems. Then what other stream of income would you want to come next? Over the last couple of days into next week, I'm going to be covering various topics from workshops, digital products, a little bit about coaching, and just some diversification for mental health providers so that you can see what's possible, but also you can see things that people may not be talking about, which is what to consider. So, what tends to happen with streams of income in our field is that we see something, it looks like a shiny object. From the outside looking in, it may seem a little bit seamless, maybe even simple for some people, because some people may think, well, how hard is it if I have an online presence for me to just announce that I have this thing going on? But some people don't understand launch processes and just in general that a stream of income is very different than a service-based product, for example. So today we're going to be talking about online workshops. And so let's go ahead and hop into it. Okay. So hold on for just a second. Let me. Oh, okay, I guess we're just gonna have that stuff around it. That's okay. All right. Okay. So hence the topic. I want you to put the stream of income so I at least know who I'm talking to today. But let's go ahead and hop into it. Okay. So these are some of the things that you want to consider when you are doing either online or in-person workshops. I am going to mix in person. There's not a lot of things that are different as we talk about things to consider, but I did just want to say that if you do want to do or prefer to do in-person workshops, because I do both, then what we're going to talk about today applies to both. Okay. So I'm first going to cover categories such as if you want to do agency or staff training types. So if any of these sound familiar in terms of like, oh, I want to do, one of those, then go ahead and put that in the comment box as well. So you can position yourself as the expert to go in and do trainings on a particular topic within the K through 12 system. Like schools, you can go into colleges. You can talk to either the college students, you can talk to the administrators, the staff, but you can go into college campuses and talk to other key staff as well. You can do workshops in churches. You can do workshops for or with nonprofit agencies, practicum and or internship sites. I feel like that area a lot of therapists sleep on. And I just want you to remember what it was like for you to go through your training or internship or externship and how beneficial would it have been for someone to meet someone in the position that you are in now, meaning you see very closely what's possible, but not directly from your supervisors or your professor, right? You can also position yourself to do workshops with community organizations. And so, very differently than nonprofits, community organizations are maybe for profit organizations. It can be facilities, it can be you have a collaboration or a contract with the county or the city or the state. But these are different types of agency or staff trainings in terms of location that you can do. So if any of these look like something that you would like to do in terms of categorically, and this isn't a full-fledged list, but these are examples. I'm also going to throw in there, some of my past therapist clients, they have been part of sororities or fraternities, and those are also nonprofits. So you can put those in there because maybe you go to your local chapter and you do a workshop on an area of your expertise. Okay. Now, these are some of the things to consider when you are, for example, doing trainings with staff members at a site. And now I'm going to get super niche down and show you the differences, especially when you are serving staff, because as a mental health provider, you don't know the history with people sitting in a group. And we don't intentionally open up somebody's Pandora's box. But at the same time, that person may feel very comfortable with you and you want to set up proper boundaries. So, first thing to consider is how often would you like to conduct your workshops with, for example, staff? So, I'm going to interweave like my own current case study, right? So, currently, what I do is I work with a nonprofit. I've been working with them for about 11 years now. And I work with them on, I'm going to say, high risk populations, those who either have not graduated high school on the streets, meaning in the streets, and or have been recently incarcerated at different levels, county jail, prison, state, things like that. So we're working with them on decreasing recidivism and getting them linked with employment. So where I come in is I want to make sure that when they do get employment, that they keep it, right? So in the beginning of me working with an agency, I may have a higher frequency of certain trainings or workshops based on their clientele and where staff needs support. So that means that you should do an intake, and I'll get to that in a second. You also want to consider, which is key so that you won't be all over the place, what are at least three specific topics that you are good at. So don't just say trauma. What in trauma are you good at? Are you good at coping mechanisms with trauma, helping people understand what is trauma? Are you certified or have had experience, which is what I do, doing trauma informed care trainings and workshops? So you want to identify specifically three things that you are really, really good at, which means that if you have to focus on that one thing for 30 minutes to an hour, if not more, you can make it very simplified where you're not overwhelming people with a whole lot of information either. Okay. So, where have you worked? That's a place that I would start, because sometimes you may want to do workshops or trainings online or in person, but you don't even know where to go find the people who may hire you, right? Or who may contract with you. And so, look at first where you have worked. Now, granted, this is why it is very important when you leave a job that you bow out gracefully. You don't leave without giving a proper 2 week or hell 1 month notice as a provider. You do not burn bridges with past supervisors. You don't talk crap about somebody because you do not like them as a coworker, as a supervisor, because you never know where you're going to interact with that person on another level. So even though I may have left positions and I wasn't very fond of the agency or administration, I do not leave out without a graceful taste in somebody's mouth. Like when I leave, they will still say that I did a phenomenal job at my job. Okay. So you want to start with where you worked, because it, for me, it may not be that I did not dislike when I worked in the jail facilities. I did not like the way that the mental health department um, took care of the mental health staff in terms of burnout workshops, trauma informed care workshop, vicarious trauma workshops. We had to beg for those workshops as a staff. And clearly we were impacted by going into facilities and going into people's homes, doing mental health services. And so I felt like the client, like we were the clientele to the county, we were not taken care of, at least with the facility that I was at. And so with that said, if I had to choose where I was going to go build relationships with and where, I wouldn't go back there, even though I left on good terms, because I'd rather go someplace where I don't have to deal with the individuals that I did not want to deal with. So if it's intolerable, don't call them back. Okay, is what I'm saying. Um, who do you know also? Like ask to actually speak or train. Now, some people you may have to or choose to start speaking for free. And somebody may say, well, and now Dr. TK, like I've been in the game for a long time. I didn't have my private practice for 20 years. That's great. You've done all these things for all these years, but you haven't been doing and getting paid for speaking all these years. Oh, I've been a professor. You haven't been paid for speaking for all these years. So if you haven't been paid for what you're trying to do, I'm not saying that you have to start out free, but you also may want to practice your craft to do it over and over again so that also you can build up enough social proof talking in front of groups of people outside of your job so that people can actually see you as a speaker. Okay. Now, these are some boundaries in terms of when you do staff trainings. Imagine that you're in a room and you're doing training on what is trauma with staff who serve other people and they hear other people's business. So you have to decide in that moment, are you the therapist or are you the trainer? Please don't flip flop between both within an hour. Okay. You are either having a contractual agreement with an agency as a provider, and that's it, or you have a contract as a trainer. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot have two contracts at one agency. What I am saying is that in the moment that you host the workshop, you are either the therapist or the trainer. Now, here's the thing, if you choose to say, I am open to taking on one on one clients from this organization that I just did the training in, you first want to ask yourself if you are on a retainer, which means that you're having to do workshops all the time there. How would you feel if you walked past someone's cubicle and you just had a session with them and they told you whatever they told you? How would you feel seeing them in the staff training? How would you feel seeing them talk in the staff training about how burnt out they are, but you know that they're really burnt out for other personal things, but they only talk about it at work about their business burnout, work burnout, right? Like, how would you handle that? Are you going to bring in what they talked about in training to their therapy session? Like, no. So you want to create firm boundaries where if you feel like that's too messy, then you tell the agency if they want you for both, hey, I can only do therapy or I can be the trainer. Which would you prefer? Also, if they want to get referrals for services, how would you set that up? Because you do not have to be the referral, but you can refer them someplace else. Okay. Also, some additional considerations. And the reason why I'm hyper focusing on staff is because the agency or organization or whoever you're coming to speak with, if you are working with their clientele or their staff, that is their goal, is to make those people whole because it's going to impact the company's impact to do whatever they have to do. And so if you do a training for free, a workshop for free, virtually or online, you still want to set up boundaries. Okay. How many trainings are you going to do pro bono each year? That is where I actually would encourage you to start. If you want to get your feet wet, I went on Facebook at one point and I said, hey, family and friends, I have a little bit more flexibility in my schedule. I am looking to do, I was doing independent living skills. I'm looking to do an independent living skills adulting workshop for transitional age youth. Does anyone know of any high schools? And I even put the cities that I want to serve. Does anyone know of any principals or academic counselors or vice principals or deans that are at high schools in these areas? It can be public, private, or charter. And I was very specific. I said, I am looking to do one workshop for a different high school for each quarter, which meant that I'm only available 4 times. I also made it clear I'm not going to be at one high school multiple times. If they want me to come back, they can pay me to come back. But I just want to get my foot in the door, which means I'm going to go to people who I know. And I was very even particular to say, DM me and give me the person's name and phone number, meaning don't just tell me, oh, my kid's school needed. No, give me the name of the person who I should be in contact with so that it's a warm handoff, and make sure that you're giving me permission to say that you referred to me. That's how I get speaking engagements, is I believe in relationship capital. Note that these opportunities are not just going to drop on your lap. It may feel like it, but it's probably because somebody either referred your name because they saw your work, which is where the online marketing space is very important. Are you showing up online and marketing yourself as a trainer, as a speaker, as a workshop facilitator, or even if we removed any of those titles, are you an expert at the topic that you're covering? Or are you going around telling people that you're a relationship expert? Well, what kind of relationship? Okay. There is no pot of gold sitting around. There's not just a thing online to just show you everybody who's looking for a speaker. So you do want to take your time, sit down and think about what is the value of what you can offer the agency or the employer, not necessarily the staff, for example. So let's just say if you chose to go into a college. Some people are thinking about it all wrong. How can I make a big transformation for the people that are attending? And that is important. But if the agency is paying you, not the clients, not the staff, you want to make sure that not only are you making a transformation for the participants, but that it will automatically positively impact the way that they show up at work. So that's what you want to talk about when you are getting your feet in the door. You just don't want to say, here's my syllabus. Here's everything I'm going to talk about. You, first of all, don't even want to give people all that information because that's your intellectual property. But before you do all that, you do want to talk to them about the logistics, and you want to loop in the conversation to talk to them about, when I do this with this population, this is what could happen for your agency, right? It's just painting a picture, okay? Now, these are all the different types of possibilities, and these are all the ones that I've done as well. So you can, this is a simple way that we teach our private practice academy therapists how to take their one-on-one expertise and simply with work move from one to many. I mean, from one to one to one to many. So let's just say if I am working with, which I did work with teenagers on anxiety, but I realized it was life transition, going into high school for junior high school kids, or going into college, or getting a job for high school kids, and maybe even wanting to move out their parents or guardians' homes. And so after I did that for 10 plus years, and it only took me that long, clearly, because I was just working my way through business, right? Is that I realized that I keep repeating myself to different groups of people. So why, or individuals, so why don't I just have a workshop? And I just started asking the kids, like, do you feel like you're in this situation by yourself? And they were like, yes. I said, would you like it if one day I had a workshop of some sort to talk about this? And they said, yes. So I just start taking on a list of leads, their names. Also, with any type of online workshops or staff workshops or agency workshops, I just have staff there, because usually most mental health providers are going to go into an agency and talk to the people who are serving other people, or you're making sure that the other helpers are taking care of themselves. Okay. So you can package your workshops or trainings versus saying, I can come back whenever you feel like it, one offs. Like, no, you always want to position it as, this is the package, because if you try to put all your stuff into one particular category, because mental health is so expansive, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. Now, does that mean you can't cover everything at one time? It doesn't mean that. But prime example, I'm talking about online workshops. I'm talking about what's possible and what people overlook, and, logistics. But I'm not teaching you how to go out and build relationship capital. I'm not reviewing your product suite. I'm not reviewing your pitch to an agency. That's what I do with our, it's called DTA Platinum students. They actually show me their proposal through a Loom video. They get Boxer one-on-one coaching access with me, and then I give them feedback, right? So I'm gonna get you to a certain point, but you can choose if from this workshop, for example, you want to go and continue to just figure it out on your own, or do you want help? But what I'm saying to you is, what I'm doing right now to you is I'm giving you a sneak peek of like a one-on-one workshop, but then you can decide if you want me as a container. But I always choose to introduce people to the container, and they can make the choice if they want to just consume information one-offs, or do they just want the whole thing? Okay. So you want to get your foot in the door to be called back for future trainings. You want to be ideally added to their training schedule. So let's just say if you chose to do online workshops for students, you like to work with college students, interns, future therapists, licensed therapists. So what can you do? Practicum and internship sites have a different round of students every 6 months to a year. So if you get your foot in the door, why not ask them, like, hey, is this a topic that you would like to be presented every single year? This is still a container. It don't have to be back to back. And then you can let them know, if at all possible, I would love to be able to come back next year. When can we talk about me doing this every year for all of your students? I would love to hear your feedback, etc. So you can do that. You can also be added to a schedule for a agency or whoever you're talking in front of. So let's just say if you are a sorority or fraternity member, and you know that they have a big annual chapter convention every single year. Well, can you come in and talk about a different mental health topic every year? It doesn't have to be the same thing. Okay. So that's something to consider. Also, you want to leave room for feedback to provide you with social proof. Don't just believe that your workshop is fire. You always want to get some type of feedback. So even though this isn't like a paid workshop that I do online, will still actually ask people, like, how was it for you on a scale of 1 to 10? How informative of it, was this workshop? And I use certain words for a reason versus like, what did you learn? Because I don't know who everybody is watching this workshop, but I want to know, is the information that I provided, did it well inform you of what is possible with online workshops, and then things to consider before you go out there and start building relationships like the staff stuff. People don't consider that. And then they enter into a ethical bind where they now find themselves being a therapist and a trainer and a coach all under one umbrella. And that is not okay. Okay. So you want to leave room for feedback, which means that you want to create a feedback form and get feedback because that's going to help you with future workshops. Also, you want to, if you desire, if you are going somewhere that is detached from your church or your own community, then you could also do what's called a back end offer in the marketing world. A simple way to put it is after you do the workshop, you let people know that you have openings for one on one therapy. So, for example, if I knew that I was going out to an agency one time, they didn't want a container, I'm still packaging myself. But my um the person who I'm now seeking is not the employer or the agency. Now I'm seeking the people that are sitting in the room because let's just say these people did not pay. Now there is another side clearly of online workshops where people pay to be in the room. Okay. So let me give you an example of that. Let's just say you want to do a workshop on let's see, like just regular coping skills for postpartum. Let's do postpartum. Okay. So if you want to do that and you want to have a group, you want to an online workshop, you want to ask yourself, is this going to be more informational or is this going to be implementation, where you're going to be helping people process stuff? You have to decide that because that determines what you're going to present and what the container is going to look like, how long it's going to be. But then you also want to consider the launch phases. I promise you, everything you do is going to require a launch. So with online workshops, and I have other videos that are on launches, but in a nutshell, a launch has four phases. You have the information stage, like, hey, I got something coming up. You have the get people enrolled in what you are doing. So you get people to sign up for your workshop. Then the third phase is you host your workshop. And then the fourth phase is you do a debriefing on how did the workshop do from your perspective, your team's perspective, and the participants' perspective. But you see how I quickly broke that down? Now, each one of those steps can have anywhere from 5 to 20 plus steps. So again, people are missing the mark when they launch something, especially online, because we think that people are just going to sign up. Okay. So here's a case study. Again, something that I'm doing right now. So I currently collaborate with a nonprofit. Now I met with them when I was working at my 9 to 5 job, and with me and one of the people just stayed in contact. And now that person is the executive director. So I've been connected with this agency for a little over 11 years now. Relationship capital is key to me. We didn't talk a lot, but anytime they would send me an invitation, if I can go, I will go. Whether it is a like some type of celebratory event for the people that they serve or whatever the case may be. And that's when we would catch up and they would realize what I was doing. And then if they had something for me, they would just ask. Okay. So what I want you to hear is that I stayed within my targeted gift area. I did not build relationship capital just with random people, agencies, or organizations. I really stayed up to date with individuals that serve the individuals that I wanted to serve. Okay. Now, I believe in the process of an intake no matter what. And so, an intake for me for going to build relationships to do speaking so that other people can also filter you clients unless you're getting your own is that you want to start having conversations with the platform or the people that are going to be feeding you information. So for example, if you want to build out your own online workshop, your conversations are going to be your content. It's going to be your email list. It's going to be videos. It's going to be blog posts, podcasts, whatever you choose. If you want to work with an organization, then by you scheduling a Zoom call or an in-person meeting with them, you are going to be listening for what are they missing from the growth area that they desire in their company so that it will improve, let's just say, the morale of their clients or their staff. And then you're going to go position yourself, if you can, to do training. Okay. So I realized one big area that was missing outside of what they called me for, which was like a trauma training, was how to do proper intakes, meaning how to ask specific questions, because we noticed a lot of holes in the intake process, and then a crisis would come up and they wouldn't have the information. So I did my own assessment and I realized, okay, I can do trainings on intake and quality assurance. That's how I built more trainings with them. Okay. When we break that down further, I gave them a solution. I gave them a solution, honestly, to a problem they didn't even realize was a big problem, but it became a big problem. Okay. I also realized that I don't need to worry about the how. I'm not focused on, do people have the money to pay me? I know what my value is. I know what I have to offer. Some things that I do may be negotiable, but if somebody wants me to serve their population or do a workshop, they're going to either pay you for your workshop or they're going to pay for their people to attend your workshop. Bottom line is, people will go find the money for what they want. Okay. We notice that all around Christmas time. Okay. So in a nutshell, from me being able to have relationship capital and do other things, I was able to be written in a total of about, now it's 7 grants within the last 3 years. And it generated during certain years 6 figures of me working less than 10 hours a month. Okay. And I can also bring my team on board to help me out so that it can leverage my time. Now, how that looks differently from your own online workshops, because I want to show you both sides, is that when you launch your own workshop, you dictate when it's going to happen, how long it's going to happen, like the container, and what you're going to talk about. You dictate the pricing. I will never tell you, if I'm your coach for this matter, I will not tell you how to price your online workshops or your in-person workshops, but I will ask you, what are the people getting? I want you to consider all the things that you've done to prep for the event. I want you to think about what can come up during and after the event. And the question I now have is, from the price point that you just gave me, do you feel like that price point is sufficient enough? And if your answer is yes, keep it. I also would recommend that you start off at a price that you're confident with so that you can work your way up, versus starting at a price point that somebody else told you you need to charge. And then you don't feel confident. And then you end up lowering your price, giving discounts all the time. That's not beneficial, because now you're going to be known as the person who always gives out discounts all the time. All somebody got to do is say X and you like, here's 50% off, right? So you want to keep all those things in mind. So let me ask you, are you curious if you would benefit from a community that would teach you how to scale your time, how to leverage your time, and how to be able to build these type of online workshops or relationship capital with agencies in your own business? And when I say business, it can be a private practice business, or it can be maybe you have a job somewhere else, but you've always done like teaching workshops and things like that, but you really don't have the desire to add on more, like, I'm gonna say, one-on-one services. Okay. So if that's the case and you're curious, then definitely just hang out with me for a couple of more minutes. Okay. So if you are curious about getting more personalized help, as I kind of already explained a little bit with some of the work that my clients have done, this is a different type of program that is more, I'm going to say, a secret society. So this is a program that is not focused on solo practice, because most people, when they see the first 3 words, Dope Therapist Academy, DTA, they already know about my Solo Practice Academy. But this program is a tier up from the academy. So what is this program, and are you a right fit? Okay. So the DTA Plat for short program, it is definitely not for every mental health provider. It is really designed for those therapists who are ready to implement, take action with an existing business. Meaning, this program is not for someone who is just starting off in business, period. And it also means that if you are a contractor working in a group practice, that is not your business. So that does not count as your business, if that makes sense, right? If you're considering getting help with scaling your time and not seeing so many one-on-one clients, I want to take my time to break out the prerequisites to make sure that if you chose to get help from me and our community, that you will know if you are the right fit. Okay. So first things first, and I just want y'all to soak this in, so that if at one point, if not now, you're looking for help, I want you to make sure that you make a decisive decision. That's why I'm so thorough with explaining any program that we have, to make sure that you know if you're a good match. Okay. So first things first, establish business. You should already have an up and running mental health business on your own with your own EIN number. This is not for beginners. It is for therapists who've been in the game and they understand the fundamental challenges and rewards of their profession. They also have some type of back office processes for whatever they've been doing, such as standard operating procedures. This is not a person who has a side hustle as a business. Okay. Number 2, you would have already been in the position to be making consistent revenue. So whatever business you have in the mental health field, you should at least be generating $3,000 a month for the last 6 months on a consistent basis, because that shows that you already implement. This demonstrates that you already have a foundation of some degree in place and that you aren't looking for basic business tips. You want to get in the virtual mastermind space that we have so that you can talk to people who are beyond solo practice, even if they still have one, but they are doing more in the community. Number three, you're actually ready to scale. So whether it's a unique therapy service, whether it's a service idea like workshop, maybe even about group practice, and you have a concrete vision about you wanting to scale in the next 3, 6, 9, or 12 months, then the DTA Platinum program is a good match for you. Our program is not to help you explore what you might want to do. We want you to come into the program having ideas, generating ideas, planning out some of the ideas. And of course, we can help you launch stuff, but we can't help you create ideas. Okay. Number four is we're looking for people who are committed to growth. Okay. So I am there with you, but I'm not going to drag you to your success. Okay. The strategies and resources that we offer do require, I'm not going to lie, hard work, dedication, time, and of course, a financial investment. So, it despises, it like hurts me when people are online right now saying, oh, business is simple. Business is easy. Just go buy a Chanel bag, but they're not showing the behind the scenes of them marketing their content, right? And so you should be ready to take risk for your business and get and see real growth, okay? Also, we're looking for people who are very much so open to collaboration because you can't be shy in this program. This program is about collective wisdom, which means that people get together and we mastermind with one another to see each other grow. Now, I'm going to kind of summarize the rest of these. I'm an APA certified instructor, licensed clinical psychologist. I am always operating within the ethics code. So I will never teach you how to do something that's outside of therapy that could be deemed as unethical. Okay. So I'm protecting your license. But in summary, our program is tailored specifically for mental health therapists who are not just dreamers, but they are doers. I'm looking for people who are our unicorns. They've seen success in other streams of income and they are ready to multiply the success. They're willing to put in the work. They're ready to do the work, put in the time, and they're committed to reaching their goals. Okay. So again, how can that program help you? What's inside? So this is what's included in this particular program. We have monthly mastermind virtual calls for about 60 to 75 minutes once a month. We give you access to an online community so that if you want to chit chat with one another, it's very member driven. I don't do coaching in that group. Then feel free to reach out, but it's there. It's not mandatory, but we do ask that everyone join because that's how we communicate with you beyond email throughout the year. We also offer what's called VIP pricing so that if when you got in the program, you wanted one-on-one Zoom, because I'm going to talk about what else you get, then you get VIP pricing for that and VIP pricing for events, depending on what the event is. You also get access to an online portal, which I'll show you in a moment. But most importantly, you get on-demand coaching. So on-demand coaching is within one business day, 24 hours, but business day. I will respond to your one specific big question each month. Now we can talk out the question throughout the month, but I only want you to focus on one thing per month. The purpose of that is I don't want somebody who's trying to grow their group practice to also be talking about online workshops. Then they talking about like, oh, I think I want to do an ebook. Like they talking about like so many things. And I'm like, reel it back in because I want you to see progress. So you have Voxer access. Every single month, you get one big question. Okay. In terms of what's in the vault, these are things that people overlook that uphold your business. You get access to a vault that helps you plan out your scalability in terms of your vision. There's a training in there, like a module on how to build out your product suite. So it's making you think about what you want. It also is a module in there on group practice, resources, standard operating procedures, things you can export as an Excel sheet. You have the email marketing vault. You have the leadership mastery vault, which is important because if you're leveraging your time, you want to make sure that you hire people and the right people and you onboard them. And then lastly is we have what's called mental health expansion, AKA what we talked about today. And though the reason why it has a star is because there is no dedicated module that is more personalized, tailored to what you ask me in your Voxer. We go back and forth on our mastermind calls. I will show things on my screen. And if there's something that I create for you that I deem as important for other students in our program, I will then add it to the portal. But a lot of our students who are working on going into the community, building out their own mental health expansion programs, it is very much so personalized. And so we don't put those in the portal because it would change for every single person. Okay. So this is what happens next post this workshop. And before we go into it, if you could, depending on when you join, you may or may not be able to answer this question, but on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being it was highly informative, um, what was I informative of what is possible with in-person online workshops, going into agencies and doing workshops compared to, briefly launch phases, but also the differences of you going into someone else's house to do a workshop, which is more in depth because it's honestly, it might be simpler versus you having to go find your audience. And that's why I spent so much time on what would happen if you went into someone else's agency, if you notice, because even though I know this was on workshops, you have to go and find your clients. And what I find with a lot of our therapist clients is that they don't have leads like people or organizations to go to position themselves to offer their workshops. So sometimes it's easier to start getting your feet wet and talking and going to agencies to do your workshops or organizations. And then you start branching out on your own because now you're learning how you do business. Okay. So what happens after this workshop is that you're going to get one email for the next 3 days, just summarizing what we talked about. So if you like the value that I put in my content, make sure you stay connected on the email list, which is why I'm telling you what's happening. Okay. So you're going to get a post workshop email today. In the workshop, it's going to outline the program I just discussed. Now, that does not mean that everybody watching today is actually interested in online workshops. So what you're going to see on the bottom of that email is if you can hear from me that you probably should spend a little bit more time working on the back office or all of your time for your solo private practice right now, we're going to give you a link to that resource, which is a training on the bottom of the email. If you realize, I really want to go into the digital product space, I want to launch an ebook, I really want to show up better online, just in general with marketing for me to brand myself for what I'm good at. I don't even want to think about a stream of income right now, but if I did, I might want to do digital products. I'm not sure. Then it's also going to be a link on the email to have you sign up if you desire for what's called our Align Marketing Academy. So what I'm sharing with you is we have 3 different buckets of therapists that we serve at any given time. And we have therapists go through all 3 depending on what their desires are. So this program is particularly for mental health expansion. I want to do workshops. I want to do group practice. I want to build my brand, but do what I do with my one-on-one practice, just one to many. I don't want to do digital products. I just want to do service. No coaching, service. Okay. So that's DTA Platinum. If you want to do digital products, marketing online, just like having tools to market online, that's Align Marketing Academy. And like I said, solo private practice, solo private practice. Either way it goes, check out the emails that we send today and for the next 2 days after, and it will outline everything for you. All you got to do is click on the link and sign up for the program. That's the best match. Okay. So this is what I just mentioned. So if you have questions, let's just say, because we have this happen about every week, let's just say someone is like, I really know I need help, but to be honest, I want to make sure that I'm the right fit for, and then you tell me whatever program. So if you DM me on Instagram at Dr. TK Psych, just tell me what your question is. Be as thorough as possible. If you need to voice note it or type it out, and then I'll respond to you as soon as I can. And then we can chit chat. We've signed up a few new students in our marketing program and our live event because they weren't sure if they were the right fit, but they just simply followed my instructions and said, get in her DM. And they did. And then we talked. I sent over voice notes and they realized they were a good match for one area. So that's the area that they went in. So think about my chit chats here with you today as more of also a case manager. I want to make sure that you're linked with the right service so that you can see progress. All right. So if you have any other questions, get into my DM on Instagram. And outside of that, I am done. Have a great rest of your weekend. If you want to find out about the other workshops, because we're going to start getting into digital products along the same lines of what's possible, what things to consider when you're launching a digital product and things like that, then you want to go to the link on my bio on Instagram. You can also go to, it's a universal link. So if you go to, let me just put it up here. If you go to drtk.com/links, then when you go there, it'll say click here for all resources. When you click there for all resources, let me actually just pull it up for you so you can see it. Okay. Okay. So when you go here, when you go to drtk.com, it's going to say all resources. And then here's the private practice training. Okay. But if you click here, it'll have everything. Okay. So you'll see here, it'll have like the series that I'm in right now, all of these expansion series. So I would say register for all of them. But as you can see, some of them are disappearing. Like this one is going to go away. This one is going to go away as of Monday in terms of the replay. Okay. Then we have live events. If you would prefer to implement expansion in 2 days in person in Orlando and Vegas, you can check those out. They're right now at a early bird rate, which will not last very long. Here's your private practice resources. And then here's your general business program and digital products. So like the marketing program is right here. Okay. And it's a very thorough and good program. So first, determine what your needs are right now in business. Figure out what you are working on at minimum in the next 90 days. And then from there, it would be easier for you to find a good match. It's very similar to what do I want to be when I grow up? Oh, I want to be a therapist. All right, well, then you need to go to therapist school. Like it's that simple. And sometimes we make investing into ourselves and our business way more difficult. Or you tell yourself you don't need the help right now, or I want to do it all by myself, even though you may not say that out loud. And the more times you honestly tell yourself that you want to do things on your own and learn things on your own, that is actually honestly a state of ignorance. And I'm saying that fully bluntly because that means that you want to reinvent the wheel. You want to take double, triple, or quadruple the amount of time that it can take someone to teach it to you in 6 weeks or 3 months. You want to take another 5 years. Like that doesn't make sense. So I don't know about you, but I value my time. And I'd rather pay someone to help me shortcut. I ain't saying it ain't gonna be hard, but I'm gonna pay somebody to help me shortcut through all the madness and just get to the information I need to hear so I can implement it, get some coaching support, and be done. Right. So that's the top 3% mindset. So with that said, you all have a great weekend. Get into my DM if you just want to look at all the resources and choose the best one that fits your need. Go to the link on the screen, and I will see y'all in the next series. Bye.